What's going on, boys? It is day number 2 of reading through the book of Isaiah. I hope that you all have been sticking around as we begin this new series, and we've been covering a couple of series over the past few months. So for today, we're going to be looking at two sections in this chapter. The first one we're going to be covering out is the mountain of the Lord, and then we're going to talk about the day of the Lord. So the mountain of the Lord is referring to this temple that is going to be built on the mountain named by Zion. And we get a little bit of a glimpse. It's only 5 verses that we get to look at, but ultimately the main message from this section is to kind of talk about this temple that's going to be developed and how people's response is going to be to it, how Isaiah is proclaiming to the people about this temple that is on this mountain. So I want to read verse 3, that will kind of cover what exactly this temple is and what the people's response is in it being developed. So Isaiah says, "Many peoples will come and say, 'Come and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, the temple of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, so that we may walk in his paths. The law will go out from Zion, the word of the Lord from Jerusalem.'" So what's kind of going on here is this almost like a seed that's being kind of planted at the top of this mountain. And people will go up and they'll be like, they'll pray to God, say, "God, reveal to me your ways, show me, how I can, understand your ways and how I can walk the paths that you are trying to reveal to me." And the Lord's attention will draw attention to some, not all. But these people who are going up there, they are going to receive this knowledge, and then they're going to go down to Jerusalem, and they're going to share it. And then from then on out, it's going to be spread all over. So across many nations and countries, from Jerusalem to all across the world, which it has. You can go pretty much anywhere in the world, and pretty much some people know things about God. They know that God is this Almighty, and they may know a little bit. They may know, God is, what people believe. It's part of Christianity. But people from this specific moment in time are receiving knowledge from God, saying, "This is my path I want you to take. This is what I want you to do. I want you to go down and share it with the people of Jerusalem, so that may spread out, and then it can go on even further to places like Greece and Israel and all these other surrounding nations." And what's important about this is that now, today, this makes me think back to the story of Moses. And as most of us know about Moses, he led the Israelites into the Promised Land, and he went up to Mount Sinai to get the 10 Commandments. And people were doing good, and he comes back down, and it's all chaos. So this whole kind of thing with the mountain, this really kind of puts a prime example of when we are in search for God's knowledge and God's wisdom. Sometimes it takes us, we have to climb this big mountain, not physically a big mountain, but spiritually. We have to climb this mountain with almost no gear at all. We have to climb it basically with just where we're at right now. And it's very challenging because, you have all these things thrown at you, these obstacles you have to overcome, and potential threats that are coming your way. And I love the way that Isaiah finishes this story out with verse 5. He says, "Come, descendants of Jacob, let us walk in the light of the Lord." So in this way, now that you can see, now that God has opened your eyes to where you can see what he's doing, use this opportunity to move forward. Use that opportunity to take a step out and not just feel like you're stuck. Now that you have been opened, you were stuck, you were frozen in time. Now you have been filled with his presence, and you can now see the light that only God could see before, but you couldn't see. You were in the darkness. You were filled with the sin. You were filled with all these evil desires. Now you've been cleansed, and now you can see what is going on. You can see, okay, well, I don't want to do that anymore. Oh man, I wish I hadn't done that. Maybe I should go share this with these people. I don't want to lose this bond I have with this person, or I don't want this business to fall apart, or whatever it is. And I think this is a great transition into the second section about the day of the Lord. And the day of the Lord is what, this is something that, I'm still trying to comprehend a little bit. But from what I'm getting at here is that the day of the Lord is a specific time on the calendar where people come together and they give praise to God. And, most of us would kind of look at this day, most of us now would look at this specific day as maybe Easter, now that Christ has been resurrected, or maybe look at it as Christmas. But now we can see that the day of the Lord isn't just one day out of the year. Praising the Lord is something we need to do every day. It's not something that we do every Sunday when we go to church, or something we do when someone passes away, or on, again, like things like Christmas and Easter. No, this is something we need to do every day. And Isaiah gives a really great call out in two different verses that literally almost mean the exact same thing, but he uses different kind of phrases. So I'm going to read verse 11, and then I'm going to jump to verse 17 through 18 and kind of bring them together to kind of explain what exactly is going on this day of the Lord at the time. So verse 11, he says, "The eyes of the arrogant will be humbled, the human pride will be brought low. The Lord alone will be exalted in that day." And then verses 17 or 18, "The arrogance of man will be brought low, the human pride humbled. The Lord alone will be exalted in that day, and idols will totally disappear." So basically, this is kind of indicating that, look, those who follow human desires will be punished. Your actions don't go unseen. God sees everything that you do. So if you're going to follow human desires and go against what he says and curse him, you're not just going to get away with it. You're not just going to, slide by. You're not just going to slide under the rug and think that you're that good. No, you're not. Your punishment is coming. Consequences will come. And the Lord on this day, and he should be praised. Those who give praise and follow his commands and his teachings will be able to praise him. And I love the thing that he says in verse 18. He says, "And the idols will totally disappear." So basically, these people who are following idols, following the things made by hand. And I believe there's a verse that actually says that. Verse 8, it says, "Their hands are full of idols. They bow down to worship the work of their hands, to what their fingers have made." So these people are following things that they made by hand, thinking that will cure them of their problems and of their issues they've been dealing with. Why is that something that should ever cross our minds? Nothing that we can do will ever try to solve our problems. You can't fix yourself with yourself. That's not possible. You can't do that. God has so many times said, look, wash yourself and make yourself clean. We talked. I think we talked about this yesterday, in verse 16 through 17. Yesterday it says, "Wash and make yourselves clean." So come clean to the Lord and admit, look, you can't do this alone. You can't go about life thinking that you have it all together, because you're not. And it is a very big problem that I see with people around me. And I don't say that to call them out, but it is something that I see people, especially in society, people you may not even know, but people who you see maybe online or out in public, you're like, man, you think you have it all together, but no, they don't. They have their own little battles they're dealing with, and we all are fighting our own battles. While we all are on our different paths, we're all fighting the same battle against sin. It is something that we can never get rid of, because we are human and we are on this earth, and that's just something that's just here until the day we die. Once we leave the earth, and for those who have accepted Christ, get into heaven, will be removed. But those who don't, well, it's not going to be very good, because you're going to find that eternal separation, and nobody wants to be separated. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be filled with his presence. And this leads me to my last verse, which is verse 22, where Isaiah says, "Stop trusting in mere humans who have but a breath in their nostrils. Why hold them to esteem?" So he says, why are you trusting these people who can't even figure out their own things themselves? Why are you trusting these people who don't put faith into God and don't follow God's commands? He says, no, put your trust in God, who is holy and good. Follow what he is telling you, because he is willing to be there for you. He can answer you. Like these humans who you think have it all together and that can help you and tell you that you need to go do this and this and this, you need to donate, you need to give this money in order for you to be saved. No, don't trust these humans, because they don't have it all together. They're just like you. They are just like you. Just because they have these nice clothes, or they live in this big house, or they have this good job, or they seem like they're this, they're on top here and you're down here. Like, no, that's not how it is. We are all on the same level. Every single human, male, female, black, white, does not matter. We are all on the same level, because we are made in the image of God, and we are all made in the same way. And we all are fighting our own battles. However, that doesn't mean that we are not worthy and that we can try and, discriminate ourselves and say, well, I'm better than this, I'm better than you. No, it's not that way. We are all fine with God's will. We all may not see it that way, and we may look at someone else and say, man, like they're going through that. I don't know how I could be friends with them. I don't know how God could forgive them. Well, he forgave you. Look back at what you did. Look back at where you were maybe, a few months ago or a few years ago. Look back to where you were, whether you're dealing with an addiction or a certain judgment or whatever it was. Look back to where you were and then think, that's that kind of thing that person is going through. Just imagine how God can transform someone else's life, because he transformed your life. He transformed my life. And to finish off, I want to share this verse that I have. I usually have it about right here on top of my mirror as I go out the door. And I usually don't, look too much at it, but I wrote it down a couple weeks ago, and I was looking back when I was writing this, and I thought, like this really does, mean something to me. And this isn't something that I just wrote down as oh, that looks cool. Like this is something I write down because this is real life. And it's from Deuteronomy 6:5, which says, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. And then I wrote a little praise at the bottom that says, yeah, buddy. It's a thing said by famous bodybuilder Ronnie Coleman, and it's something that I like to say a lot with my F3 group. And what I love about it is that no matter what you're going through, God is always willing to be there for you. He loves you no matter what. He loves you at your best. He loves you at your weakest. It doesn't matter. God always loves you. So if someone ever tells you that God, wronged you, or God isn't there for you, if you're in the deepest part of your life, I promise you, God is not out of reach. Sometimes it means that we are the ones that have to turn back to God. We are the ones that have to turn around and stop running. We are the ones that have to say, you know what? Why do I do this to myself? The reason why my life is so hard is because I make it that way. And while God is going to put us through tough times, he's not going to let us fail. He's not going to let us fall to pieces. He's always going to be there for us. So I promise you, if someone ever tells you that, remember this verse, Deuteronomy 6:5. I promise you, write it down, put it somewhere in your room or your house. And I promise you, this will be a transforming thing for you, because I know it has for me. And that is the end of today's word. I hope that you guys have had a great Wednesday, and I hope that you guys have a great rest of your week. Peace out, boys.